Here is an overview of the hallmarks of cancer. To define cancer, well, a notable quote comes up that says cell cycle gone wrong. So when cell cycle goes wrong, we may encounter cancer. And there are about 10 hallmarks, each of which really characterizes or encompasses a very important aspect of the definition of cancer, and these definitions have evolved since our understanding of this disease. So let's look at these one by one. First is sustained proliferative signaling. Sustained, and I'm going to highlight each of those words because each of them have really profound meanings. Now let's actually draw a cell, and I'm not going to be really artistic about it, just very simple. And to give you some guide, the inner circle corresponds to the nucleus. So the nucleus contains mainly, a DNA. It obviously has other components, but it really is where DNA is stored. And then we have your cytoplasm and various organelles, structures, and exist here, but we're not going to worry too much about those. So I'm going to simplify these again. We have sustained proliferative signaling. So proliferative signaling, what is the word proliferative? Well, it is division, Division that is excessive. So in short, it's excessive division is called proliferation. And usually it's through signaling, and that can be through outside in. So outside in signaling or inside out. Inside out signaling. I have a bit of a scribble here, but it reads inside out signaling. So there are lots of signalings are going inside the cell, but really we're thinking about how the external factors influence the cell to divide, and then how internal factors cause the cell to divide. So various types of signaling that exists, but we're not going to go into too much detail. But if we have any of these signaling pathways that are sustained, so if you have too much of either one or both, then we can have what? Well, proliferative signaling. So it's going to excessively divide, So this is division, so division is normal. But mind you, these cells should be the same size as the original parent cell. Here, for the sake of saving some space, they were smaller. But division can occur naturally, but if it occurs too many times, is when it can become again cancerous. So sustained signaling. We have too much signaling going on that allows this to keep dividing and dividing and dividing, and obviously we do not have those in a normal person unless in certain circumstances, but again those are would be very much detail for the purposes of this content here. So now let's go to our second topic, which is on evasion of growth suppressors. So in a cell, there are receptors that can take, so this is growth suppressor, GS, can bind to this receptors. This is your receptor, and this is your growth hormone that block the cell from cell division. So it is not going to divide. But if you evade this mechanism, so if you evaded, so I'm going to draw a cross sign here. Then this will allow the cell to proceed through and divide. So evasion is a mechanism of escape, right? Escape from suppression, let's say. Now we said this middle circle sphere here is the nucleus. Now nucleus contains our DNA, roughly represented here, and Hallmark 3 tells us genome instability and mutation. Well, DNA is very complex, and if there are various types of DNA, damages could occur to the DNA and mutate different types of mutation in different genes. So reactive off species is one of the culprits that can mutate the DNA, but there are many things. So it's just damage to the DNA is what the hallmark number 3 is talking about. Now we know in our bodies, right, we don't have only one cell, we have many cells that make up a tissue, one tissue for instance, in our bodies. So we have, let's say, epithelial cells, which are really just like this, in simple terms. And if they are beside, say, blood vessels, this is your blood vessel. Now all cells need blood because the blood contains your oxygen, it has your nutrients, it has sugar, it has minerals, right, and many other things that cells, whatever type of cell may be, need. Now, if you have induced angiogenesis, angio as in the blood vessel, genesis, the making of those blood vessels, if we have too much, so if we have lots of branching, let's say branch, and let's say another blood vessel forms, blood vessel, right? So there is a lot of supply, lots of these, so we get many of nutrient, oxygen, sugar, minerals. So what happens, these cells are able to grow, so grow, right? Each of these will be able to do that. Of course, they will have to have all these other hallmarks to finally become a cancer cell or cancerous overall. Because we know cancer is just a clump of cells that have divided excessively. Now, let's now think about our hallmark 5. And no, I'm not doing this, okay, just to make it all these uniform. So hallmark 5 is resistance to cell death. So in a cell, there are many different pathways, so a lot of different signaling pathways, say inside from here to here, from here to here to here, right? It's complex signaling networks that exist, and some of these networks are involved in the death of the cell. And those really sometimes really attributed to the mitochondria. Mitochondria, if you remember, is the powerhouse of the cell, but mitochondria is also really important in releasing factors. So these are not nuclei, these are factors that allow the cell to ultimately rupture and allow cell death. One mechanism, right? So there again, we said there are multiple different mechanisms and signalings inside the cell that go on. But if we have the inhibition of this cell death, well, this is what cancer cells do because they want to live, right? There again, have a lot of blood vessels coming in, lots of nutrients coming in. They want to inhibit the cell death. They want to mutate the DNA, so it really helps them achieve all these things, right? Now my DNA is a bit more like that. So resistance to cell death, right? And hallmark number 6 is deregulated cellular energetics, and we can deregulated as in dysregulated as in not properly regulated, and cellular energetics is basically related to the energy resources and use of the energy within a cell. So cellular and mitochondria, we know, is the powerhouse of a cell, and is usually involved in the cellular energetics because it gives the cell, right, ATP, right, which is the energy molecule. Now, if that is mutated or dysregulated, then we can have too much ATP, a lot of ATP, so that the cell can use to divide and divide and divide and divide, right? So to divide a lot many more times that is considered normal. Now hallmark number 7 is enabled, as in allowing for replicative immortality. Now what does that mean? Replicative immortality is being able, a cell being able to divide and divide and divide and divide and divide a lot many more times than again is considered normal. So the extended division is abnormal, right? And there's a lot many more details to each of these again, but really we're simplifying this for the sake of being an overview. But each and every cell in our body has a limit to the number of times that it can divide, but cancer cells, they can evade that and enable, again, division many more times than what is considered normal. Hallmark number 8 is tumor promoting inflammation. So if you consider a cell, simplified cell, there is inflammation. Most may consider it on the macro level, but on micro level is these molecules, so each of them different shaped molecules that are outside of the cell and help create this or this promoting this inflammation, so increase in temperature, let's say increased release of factors, and these factors typically called cytokines. So these dots and shapes you see here are called cytokines. We can discuss this later, and so, but again, we can a lot of inflammatory factors, immune system gets involved, and on the note of immune system, so these factors again influence the cell and also the environment which the cell resides. Hallmark number 9 is related to the immune system. The immune system normally is able to recognize and destroy cancer cells, but if there is evasion of the immune destruction, then immune cells come along. Say this is your immune cell, it has some apparatus here, right? Typically structured here. Then they're able to, for example, let's give this some other attributes to distinguish it. Have binding sites that typically recognize cancer cells and allow for their destruction, so that this cell gets destroyed. But if this cell has acquired mutations at the level of the gene, at the level of the regulations, what's surrounding it, so as to create a really tough barrier between this immune cell and the cancer cell really makes it hard for the immune cell to recognize and destroy this cancer cell. Now, hallmark number 10, which really most cancer-related death is due to, is the activation of invasion and metastasis. So again, we talked about having a layer of cells here and a blood vessel, right? You had a blood vessel. Now, if these cells become malignant, I'm going to just change their shape. Let's say a group of them become malignant and these are healthy still. These can enter the blood vessel and travel to another different part of the body. For example, it can reach the kidneys. So if this is your kidney and this is, for example, your intestine, right? This migrate the kidney and grow mass here. So this is called metastasis. And invasion is basically the entry of these tumor cells into the blood vessel. So invasion and metastasis really hallmarks, really important hallmark of cancer, which we just described in there. So again, a lot more to each and every one of these, but here has been an overview.